Hello Pioneers, and welcome to a brand new Satisfactory series. With Project Assembly Phase 5 complete and humanity saved, it's time to begin to design and build the ultimate endgame factory. Our current setup may have gotten us far, but let's face it, it's more practical than pretty. In this episode, we're starting fresh, breaking ground on a massive 10-station, 80-freight platform rail hub to centralize all our resources. Let's dive in and see what we can create. Let's take one last look at our factory that we've built so far, the one that took us to the very end of the game and finished off Project Assembly Phase 5. We've done a pretty good job. We've included everything. We've got all the fancy buildings that produce all the crazy components. We've built it to the exact scale we need to sort of finish the game at a decent pace. But now it's time to move on. Given we've unlocked all our technologies and all our logistics and all the cool stuff in the game, and we know what scale we want to build to, we've got all the recipes and everything that we need, we can now start working on a real factory, like a little city or like something just really cool and interesting, more interesting than these blocky buildings that we've built so far. So we're going to start developing our final factory slash city. The first question is, of course, where are we going to build it? So we started over here in the grassy fields, and that's quite south in terms of like the whole map as a whole. So I think if we're going to build some sort of central factory, it's going to need resources from everywhere on the map. Makes sense to me to build somewhere central. So let's go start by scouting this location. Now put it on a little map marker near the center of, well, what I think is the center of the map, and it takes me to right about here. This is a pretty cool location. Oh, and it's got a nice little water source right underneath. We can get all that water from directly below. This seems like a fantastic location. I like it. Now we need to determine what height we want to build everything at. And as much as I'd like to build everything just into the sky, I don't think that's quite a good idea. I kind of want to contour my factory. Oh, look how big this water source is. I kind of want to contour my factory to the land itself. So if this is going to be the center of our factory, let's just have a look at northeast, southwest to see what's in our way of expansion. I mean, if we go this way, there's a giant rock over there that we might have to build into as part of our factory, and a giant rock over here. So I think this elevation is probably a decent point to start with. What do you guys think? And bringing the water up from here is going to be a bit of a pain, but it does avoid a lot of the rocks. And we can't really do too much about the rocks. I think I like this spot. Alright, let's start by laying some foundation, and we're going to this time give ourselves plenty of subfloor to work with, maybe a 3-story subfloor. Now, before we get to building, I'd like to be able to travel back and forth between this location and home. So why don't we set up some basic infrastructure like power and such? What we can do is drag our power from the closest point, which is probably over there, any which way, it doesn't really matter for now, and set ourselves up a portal. Now, do I have enough materials to build a portal? Yes, I do. Excellent. Now, I see a power pole right here, so let's just drag power from this one. I don't really care where I build for now, because all this is going to obviously be temporary. But we'll connect the power, bring it over. Speaking of which, how much power do we have to play with? Quite a lot, since none of our space elevator components are producing anymore. I mean, this is, we'll build one more. I'm gonna say it's close enough to where we want to be, but we want to be on top of this rock, so let's just build a power tower closer to the rock, maybe on top of the rock itself. Now we'll build ourselves a satellite portal on this side, because the main portal obviously needs singularity cells to function, but the satellite portal, yep, that's all good. We'll just call it a satellite portal. There's only going to be one portal just to get back and forth. Now I'm going to head back home and I'm going to build the main portal. Alright, we're home at our main base now. We can just build the main portal anywhere. Probably just do it right under here near our storage boxes. If you're wondering why we can't do away with our old base, it's because our old base is producing all of our construction materials. So we're not going to be dismantling this old base for a very long time. We actually need it completely functional, which means we can't use a lot of the resources on this south side of the map, because that's where the old base is getting all its nodes from. What we can do is build ourselves a main portal and start working on some stuff. wonder if this belt's going to get in the way of this truck. Apparently it is. Okay. Maybe I will elevate this a little bit then, so that the truck can continue to function. I'm not going to bother trying to make this clean or pretty or anything. It's literally just to pump singularity cells into the portal. We obviously need to give it some power. Where is my closest power connection? Somewhere on this wall probably. There we go. Now it's got singularity cells, and we can select the linked portal to the satellite portal and activate it. I've never used portals before. This is my first time. Well, we did a test run in our Let's Play series. And by the way, if you haven't checked out my Let's Play series, you can check it out on my channel. The Let's Play series is a fully commentated episodical series that shows you exactly how we got to this point here. But looks like our portal has finished powering up now. Doesn't consume too much power. It's actually perfectly fine. So we can now jump in the portal and head over to our new factory and back with ease, I'm assuming. Yes, look at that. So easy. Now we can do a lot of stuff. So the reason I wanted to go back was we need to start making new blueprints in the Mark III blueprint machine. At the moment, all our blueprints are being made in Mark II, and we don't want to do that anymore. So let me get rid of this old blueprint. If you're enjoying the video and you want to support Data Engineer Plays, don't forget to leave a like and hit that subscribe button. And if you have any feedback or suggestions, feel free to share them in the comment section. Take all the materials out of it, and then we can deconstruct this and instead replace it with a Mark III blueprint thing. However, we don't really have much space anywhere for it. Let's just do it here then. Alright, I've added a little platform over here now. Let's see if I can add the Mark III blueprint machine over here. Do we have enough space? I know it's massive. It's like absolutely massive. I think we do have enough space. We're just missing one of the components. And that component is not being stored in a box anywhere, I don't believe. Or maybe it is being stored in a box. I should probably put some dimensional storage on these components before I start. While we were waiting for the game to end, we did pick up 60 hard drives, 21 Mercer spheres, and 43 Summer Sloop. So you might see me putting down a MAM every now and then just to start researching all those hard drives. I got a bunch in my library. Oil-based diamonds, that sounds really, really useful. Let's keep them scanning. I've got 60 hard drives, which is going to take 60 times 10 minutes to scan. You guys can calculate how many hours that is. It's going to be quite a few. Now, the rest of these components, we need to put into dimensional storage. So let's get to that. That is superposition oscillators done, and the other one is going to be this component, which is the neural quantum processor or something like that. We'll grab a couple for now. I'm going to miss this old base. We've spent probably about 100 hours finishing the game and building this thing up, but we're going to build something even better now. Alright, it fits. I saw yellow. Well, yellow's good enough, right? Not really, because it kind of clips into everything. Holy crap, this thing is massive. Yeah, this is going to be a bit annoying to build on. Let's just use this space back here. No point cramming ourselves in. Alright, fits nice and open here, which is good. I'm sure we'll be using a lot of blueprints going forward, so we definitely want to make sure this is all working properly. The first blueprint that I'm going to make is just a concrete floor. I think we're going to switch from the basic foundation to use the concrete foundation for most of our construction now, because I think it looks cooler and it only uses concrete, which is just an added bonus. So we're going to put down as many as we can, so a 6x6 floor basically. Make sure that's all snapped to the grid properly, because we're going to be using this everywhere. There it is, a beautiful 6x6 concrete floor. Nothing special. Let's save that blueprint. Yeah, I created a new blueprint area for it called construction and had a subcategory essentials, and we're going to add our 6x6 floor here. Great, that's all saved. Probably start giving these proper icons. This will be number 2. It's going to replace our normal foundations, and now we can head back over and start placing those foundations. Honestly, we'll probably end up building the blueprint box over here where we're actually building. But let's try out our 6x6 floor, see if we can't put one down. Okay, so you can't control snap the foundations from a blueprint to the world grid. So we're just going to put down some placeholder foundations so we are aligned to the world grid. Since this is the subfloor, where we really start is kind of irrelevant. It doesn't really matter where we start. Is this kind of aligned to the edge of this? I guess, kind of. Yeah, this should be fine. Let's see if we can't snap a blueprint to that. Doesn't like any of this. Put it on default mode maybe, it'll help. Now, is that aligned? Yes. I think that looks fine. This is just a subfloor, so it doesn't really matter too much. But now that we have a subfloor, I guess this is just going to be an arbitrary starting point for our factory. So with the subfloor, we can start putting up some walls to mark out how high our real floor is going to be. So our subfloor is going to be housing all of our beltwork and all of the messiness. So I think 3 floors is probably a good idea. On top of that, we should be able to now put our real floor. All right, is that centered? I think that looks centered. So that's our real floor. And we've finally broken ground on our actual factory. So the first question we need to ask ourselves is, what is the first thing that we need to build in our factory? I believe it's going to be a logistics system of everything, because we need to bring raw resources into the factory somehow. And given where everything is going to be and how much resources we might need to bring in for a large factory, we might want to use something like trains. So I think the first thing that we should do is create a really nice train station that can house all the resources. If I'm not mistaken, there's 10 raw resources in Satisfactory: iron, copper, limestone, coal, caterium, sulfur, crude oil, SAM, bauxite, and nitrogen gas. And I am leaning towards a centralized factory. And the central station is going to transport all 10 of these raw resources, and then we're going to build our factory around the central station. So let's see what one of these train stations might look like, and then we'll build around that. So say we build our train station going north-south, and we just place one anywhere. Doesn't really matter, or I'm going to say it doesn't really matter where we place it, but maybe it does, I don't know. Let's place it one foundation block in on this corner. How does that extend on this side? All right, let's just centralize it then. We'll center it and do it one foundation block out this way, and that way we have some sort of alignment to our 6x6 grid. So that's our train station, and then we've got to decide how many freight cars we want to support for our factory. I think, it's kind of a hard thing to decide on, because this is going to determine the ultimate scale of our factory. I think it's better to have a lot of space, and then if we don't need to use the freight cars, then we won't use them, and it's kind of fine, right? I mean, we have infinite space in this factory, so why not? Let's build quite a few. So we're going to build out our platforms. And let's just do an arbitrary number, say 8 platforms per station. This is already starting to look ridiculous sized. But yeah, this will be one of our train stations, and we need 10 of these. And then we've got to figure out how to house all this inside a sort of train station looking building. So it shouldn't be too difficult. Let's mark all these different stations with what they're going to store. So I'm going to call this first one iron ore. Now that we have a building, we can also start determining what color palette we want to use. I've been using red and black for everything, but maybe it's time to pick a proper color palette. I like this gray look, but I want a different highlight color. I think red's been done to death, and we need something unique and different from all the other YouTubers. And you guys can tell me if someone else is using this color palette. I think I'm going to go with a purple, and we might as well use the purple from, you know, classic MMO's rarity purple, right? Like nice and bright. Since it's going to be an epic factory, we're going to use the color that basically denotes epic, which is purple. Anyway, it's not easy, it's not hard to change this later, so if you all hate it, then, you know, make your suggestions in the comments and we can highlight the factory however you like. But I'm going to start with purple, and then we're going to start building out maybe like 3 of these train stations, and then we're going to see how that might look with some walls and ceilings and stuff like that. Now we definitely need to leave a row of openness on each side to transport all the materials. So let's put down some more foundations on this side. And my power tower is already in the way. So I'm going to have to move that at some point. But I'm going to put down all the foundations this way. Oh, we're out of concrete already. All right. Let me go grab some concrete. Ooh, diluted fuel. That's an interesting one. I like that. Continue scanning our hard drives. I got a bag full of concrete now. Let's head back to building our train station. All right, let's plop down all our foundations and set up a second one. Now, I think I already regret doing this because I kind of want to be able to clear out this foundation. But if I do that, then it's going to look like it's got a gap. So I might just move this train station one out. All right, that's all fixed up. Now we have 2 stations and all the freight platforms are facing the right direction. Should we add a third for our testing purposes? We're going to need 10 of these, so it's going to go quite a long distance. I might do them going both left and right. That's why I didn't want to name it. But this is sort of our center point of the world. So let's just do a third one here for now. Here's our 3rd station done. That's 3 out of 10 stations done. I might just mark out where the rest of the stations are going to go. That way we can start putting down the foundations and stuff and start building a train station building that can house all of these stations. And it'll give us a good idea of where our factory might start. So let me go ahead and do that. We will go and start tiling out foundations this way and see how far it extends. So we've got 3, and to get to 10, we need to put another 6 more. So we'll do 3 more on this side, and then we'll do 3 more on that side. And that should be the width of our massive train station. This thing's going to be absolutely enormous. Hopefully it puts through enough capacity that we need for all of our raw materials. So that's the flooring in. I just don't want to build all of the train stations right now and then realize some fundamental mistake and have to then change everything. So I'm just going to put in the heads of the train stations for now without the platforms, so we can mark out where they're all going to go, basically. I think that is the correct spacing, because that's going to be deleted, and then we've got the walking space there. So there's 1. There's number 2. And here's number 3. Let's go to the other side and do the same thing. There's our first one. There's the second one. There's the third one. I realize we need 4 actually, so we'll do 1 more. That makes 10, right? And there we go. That's 10 stations. Wow, this is already looking massive. Jeez. This is going to be the biggest logistical train system that we've ever built. But it is going to transport every single raw resource in the game, so I think it's fine. We'll find out, I guess. We're going to let this factory basically grow very, very organically. It's going to do whatever it likes. I don't know if the end result is going to be a organized, beautiful factory that looks like an engineer had planned it and an architect had designed it, or whether it's going to look like the scrawlings of a 5-year-old child. But we'll find out together. It's going to add the floors in now. We haven't even started this factory, it's already looking massive. All the floors filled in, we need to actually make this thing work. So I'm going to try to figure out how we're going to link and merge all of these with rail and rail signals so that the trains don't all collide with each other once they pick some stuff up. It also means I need to probably set up a train somewhere to test it. So I'm going to add another row of foundation along the front over here. And we're probably going to need one around the back as well to get all the rails connected. My plan is basically just to connect it all into one central rail system and then run some cardinal rails north, south, east, and west so that it can basically access all of the map. So there's the front. We're going to run the rail out somewhere along here. Let's just figure out how big that curve might need to be. Try to make it as small as possible, I guess. So if we did something like this, we should be able to get it onto a central rail maybe. So if I run a straight rail, say from here, is this in the center? Say from like here between 2 tiles. Or do I want it between 2 tiles or like in the center of a tile? Probably in the center of a tile makes more sense. Let's try running one like this. I'm not sure any of these concepts are going to work, by the way. So I'm just trying random things, and then if it works, it works. If not, we'll just start again and rebuild. It's our final base. We can play around with it. Doesn't really matter. We're under no sort of time pressure or anything like that. Look how long this rail is just for the station. It's crazy. So say this is our central rail that's going to go in and out of our base. Now, how's this going to play with our rail system? So our rails will need to go... So say my train comes out here, right? It either needs to go left to get materials from that way, or it needs to go right to get materials from that way. So we actually do need a second rail, say along here. And I think having it on 2 foundations side by side is good enough. If you haven't noticed yet, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just doing stuff that logically makes sense to me. But whether that actually works in practice is going to be another story. So we're going to do some testing, and I'm not exactly a professional with Satisfactory rail systems either, so bear with me. That looks like it's way too close for the trains, right? We can very easily test that by putting an electric mode. Actually, it's actually okay. I think this is far enough. Like, they're not clipping into each other, which is good for me. That means I don't need to have too much space in between these 2 rails. Let's see how that plays with this. So each rail needs to be able to go both directions. So I need to be able to hook this rail into here. Ah, okay, I see. So there's no point where this can actually hook up. So I need to... Oh, this is very, very annoying to build. So I need to build this in sections. So maybe my blueprint designer will help with this. Try to figure out where I can put a blueprint designer that's kind of out of the way, but yet still close by. Maybe just like here somewhere. I've been trying all sorts of curves, but none of them seem to work. So here's a new plan. I'm going to build my rails like this. This is my rail blueprint. It's just going to have the snapping points for all the different stations, tiled to a 6x6 blueprint, and hopefully that should work. So I'm going to put my pair of parallel rails, and I'm going to put them a little bit spaced apart now, because I feel like right on top of 2 tiles is too much. So I'm going to put them like this. And then we'll redesign our rail blueprint that's going to carry the rails to faraway lands. But that's fine. So if we do something like this, that gives plenty of space in between the rails. I think that looks a little bit better. What do you guys think? Or is that too much space? Do we want it to fit it perfectly between the outside edge of 2 tiles, maybe? I think that looks better. Instead of using 4, this would use 4 tiles, right? So this is the outside edge of 2 tiles. Like here, for example. Like there. Then that kind of hangs over the edge of a tile. Let's go in 1. Can we go in half? Nah, I'm not gonna screw with half snappings, because I've learnt my lesson about doing things not perfectly aligned. I know I can control and half snap it directly onto the edge, but no, I'm not gonna do that. Let's just do it in here like 1. So we'll do it like this. That way it fits perfectly within 2 foundations. So we give a snapping point in the middle as well, and that way they're 2 separate bits of rail. And we might even put the signal in at some point. Something like this. I basically want to, in this series, design a set of blueprints that we can all click together like Legos and build stuff easily. I don't want to sit here for hours and hours building like the same things over and over again. But I think that looks better. I think this is more spacing than we had before, and it fits within 2 tiles. Before we had it on the center line, they were a little bit too close. I think this is the perfect amount of spacing. I say that, and then it turns out horribly. But anyway, that's fine. Let's go over here, and we'll save it over this rail curve blueprint that doesn't work. And we will save it in Rails. Cool. Why does it change the directory again? That's so weird. But hopefully if I build my rail section with these, then instead of just dragging rails, then everything should nicely click into place. And I wonder if I can blueprint mode this on top of this blueprint. Let's try, because this is the edge. So in theory, I should be able to just do this. And I put in blueprint mode. Ah, yeah, nice. It snaps onto the blueprint itself. Let's chuck one in and see. Yes. Why is it 1 off? Why is it 1 off? Oh, blueprint mode. Why? Why is it not perfectly aligned? Is it something I did in the blueprint? The blueprint goes from end. Definitely goes end to end. Okay, it's not something wrong with my blueprint, thank God. To make it easier to work with. So basically that, but perfectly aligned. And that is exactly in the center two foundations of my blueprint. And that hits the edge perfectly, right? Now if I go blueprint mode, will it snap perfectly to it? No, it hates snapping to this. What if I do normal mode? It's even worse. Okay, this rail blueprint is like super annoying. Let's see if we can go blueprint mode. That's really annoying to use. Oh, now blueprint mode seems to be okay. We'll put it in 2 sections so we don't go too crazy. And let's see if the snapping points work. I need to put in 1 more section this way. I'm going to chuck in a floor. And I'm going to chuck in this. Now I've got to be careful about this because... yeah. Did that do that on the other side? Did it try to trick me? Yeah, it did. Blueprint mode is a trick, basically, is what we're saying. We've got to be careful with the blueprint mode on these rails because they try to trick you. You need to like offset them by 1. That's okay. We're not going to use this blueprint too much, I don't think. It's just going to be the return rail in and out of the stations. But in theory, with that done, I might make a blueprint bar for rails and 1 for other stuff. We'll use bar 7. The rail section, and then I want the rails themselves. We're going to need all new blueprint bars for this sort of stuff, so it's fine. Let me grab a transport rail. Oops. I want that to be 2. I want that to be 1. Alright. Now, in theory, I should be able to snap this somewhere. Nice. And then I should be able to snap... oh, it doesn't like to snap. I've done everything wrong. It doesn't like to snap off the train station itself in 2 different directions. Oh, that's why I didn't build all the rails at once. Alright, let me fix this. We need to add another section over here. So it's not going to adhere to the blueprint, unfortunately, because we need another 1.5 sections here to shift this all out a little bit more, because the train stations the start of a train station is not a snapping point, unfortunately. So what we need to do is we need to get the tiniest rail out of each train station, like that. And then from here, I should be able to snap to 2 rails. So where is the closest place I can do this? We actually don't need that much room. Like I can do it from here, so I can still do the blueprint, but we have to use these 2 tiles instead of being like right centered onto a 6x6 blueprint. Being centered onto a 6x6 blueprint is not really that important. So if I do that, wait, let me just test if that actually works. Hold on. Before we just assume nothing works, can I put that down and then snap this rail to this? Like, as much as I want to build a beautiful city, I also want things to be easy. Yeah, definitely not happen doing something like that. But then in theory, it should be able to snap onto this point. All right, cool. And dismantle the blueprint. All right, we're going to go 1 tile out. So from here, and then make sure it aligns here. Nice. Now, blueprint mode is not helpful at all anymore. We'll have to just manually build the rail sections. Oh, is that correct? I'll get used to using these blueprints eventually. We'll add 1 more section of rail here. That looks about right. Okay, let's finally test this and see if it works. Proof of concept with the rails. Oh man. Already complicated. I haven't even started building my factory yet. But yeah, that should be able to go to 1 direction, and then in theory, I should be able to get another track going this direction, which is what I want. Yes, that's what I want. All right, now we need to do the intersections for this, which is going to be super complicated. All right, let me set this up, and let's figure out what rail signals I need to make all this work, and whether that's even possible with the stations so close to one another. So we need also proof of concept that this can actually work around the back as well, because the trains need to come back into the station, right? So I might just extend out this one. Let me clear my blueprint design up. So I've added 8 freight platforms on the back. So this is where the back is. I'm going to assume we're going to need that rail section here to hook it in. Let me just think about that for a second, because when you're going in the back, it doesn't need to choose between 2 directions. It's always just going to come in from somewhere, right? So let's pretend to be a train. So as the train comes out, it can choose whether it wants to go out the west side or the east side. So say it wants to go out this side, it's going to go that way. So this rail runs in this direction and this rail runs in this direction. At some point, the rail needs to be able to return back into the station. So this train's going to go out that way, but this rail needs to be able to, say a train comes back in from the other side, it's grabbed its iron ore or whatever, and then it needs to go into the iron ore station over there. It needs to come in through this track over here, and then it needs to be able to turn around and go back into there. So we need it to do something like this. Where is my rail section I can clip into? Here. I don't know if it's a good idea to do it where this thing's intersecting or just do it clean from here. Maybe we'll just do it clean from here. But that gives a whole new section over here that I don't want. All right, let's just try this. Look, if it doesn't work, we'll adjust accordingly. But essentially, it needs to turn down this way. And where's the tightest turn it can do? Okay, we'll add in a new foundation section here. Basically, there just needs to be a single rail along here. And we'll stop it. It's pretty arbitrary where we do this. So we'll just pick a line, maybe like here, and we'll drop a rail here. Guess we'll just start it, say here along this line, and it can just go all the way down this way. And then we'll get it to go follow this to here. And then we will give it a 3, 1, 2, say 3. Or maybe I can just loop it in here. So if I did it along, say, this line over here, it should work. Let's try it. Maybe that was a little bit too tight, but we'll see. Let me set this part up, probably along, say, this line. I might need blueprints for this back bit as well. Okay, so I've extended out these two stations now, just to test if everything works. This rail that goes out this way, like if we go from this rail station, what I want the behavior to be is that when the train comes out, it can pick a direction to go east or west to get materials. And then say it goes this way, this rail runs westward, and then it'll go out the west and get whatever materials. And then when it loops around, it'll come back on this east track. And this east track will come in, and then it should have the option to go out this way around the back. So then I've set up a rail that goes along here. And this rail will loop around the back, and this will just be a single rail for it to pick which station to unload all the materials into. Now we just need to create a test bench to make sure this works. So I might just set up a rail station somewhere and see if it works. So for example, let's just pretend we've run this rail 10 kilometers out or like 5 kilometers out this way. And we're going to delete all this when we're done. And then it's going to peel off the main rail somewhere and go and pick up some stuff over here, for example. So I'm just going to drop a foundation here. And we'll just drop a random train station here where it's going to dock the train. So there's the train. It docks into the station where it's going to pick up its cargo or whatever. Sydney, my hometown. We'll call this, or we'll just call this like iron ore pickup. Now we need to power these stations so that we can test it. Now I have power just under here somewhere, so I'm just going to grab it from there. We'll just do a power tower pole there. Then we will just get power lines into a couple of stations just for testing purposes. Let's just call this 1, and we'll call this one 2. If it works with 2 stations, I'm going to assume it works with the rest. We can always time our trains so they don't actually collide ever, because trains should run perfectly in time, right? They never fall out of sync. It takes the same time for a train to go from one station to the other. So if we do that, we should be able to get power now. I think they're all powered. Let me just double check. Yep, we've got all our power. Now we should be able to run this station over there. This one should be now powered. And after it does its pickup, it will come back to the return track, right? So say the return track is here and say like here. You never know how sharply these rails turn. Doesn't need to be pretty. It's just for testing. There you go. And then it comes to this return track and it needs to get back to this station. Let's test the train to see if that works. So if I just put in a locomotive facing, say, this way, and what's going on with this locomotive? We can set its timetable to go from iron ore pickup to number 2. Seems to be fine. Otherwise, it would say it has issues. Now can we put down the rail signals? Did I say number 2? I need to probably connect this into the main rails, right? Station is unreachable. Why is it unreachable? We've got a return rail this way that goes this way, and then it turns out that way. Alright, I figured out the issue by just manually driving the train. Where it intersects between my 2 blueprints technically aren't clicked together. That is super annoying. So you have to manually join the blueprints together. Oh man. I'm going to assume the blueprints don't work. We can actually very easily test that. But then this part of the blueprint did work. What? I'm so confused. Hold on, let me just test this out. No. It doesn't. It doesn't let you drive across the blueprint. Oh my god, that's so annoying. So we have to basically design all of this manually. We can use the blueprints to create the snapping points that we need. But then after that, we need to sort of design everything manually. Like once we've got the blueprints in and we've got all these snapping points, then we need to connect them all manually, basically. What I mean by that is then I need to then manually go in and put the rail that goes from here to here. And then go from, oh no, I've deleted this thing's snapping point. Damn it. Actually, that's fine. This one didn't have a snapping point. This just goes straight out, right? So this is just basically going to be a pain in the butt to build. But basically, we just need to be able to do this, and then we have to like manually rebuild this in. Make sure everything is straight, and we should be able to click in things like this to here. And then it knows now this is a proper intersection. Oh man, that's going to be such a pain to build. So we need to use our blueprints to create the snapping points. And once we have the snapping points, we need to remove all the blueprints and then manually put in the straight bits of rail again. All right, that's fun. But now we should be able to test our train if it works. Let's give it a go. All the challenges involved in doing this. So now we should be able to go to the iron ore pickup and then say go to station 2 and then turn on self-driving and it should do the thing. Okay, it made it to iron ore pickup and now it's automatically headed to number 2. Cool, now it made it to number 2 and then it should be able to do its return journey. All right, cool. So it does work. It's just a little bit convoluted on how we build it. That's all. All right, let me set this up now and then see if it tests it with multiple trains. Now with multiple trains, they need to stop at a rail signal somewhere. And I assume the first one needs to be when they exit the station, right? So when they exit the station, that's not right. Yeah, when they exit the station, they need to be like, all right, cool. Is the rail clear on the left or the right? So then over here, if it's going to go out this way, it needs to check if this block is clear. So right before where it intersects the next train, right? Somewhere like here. So then this one can be, why does it hate this? The signal loops into itself. How does it loop into itself? Did I get that the wrong way? No. But signals always should loop into itself, shouldn't it? Or maybe I need more signals on this side too. There we go. Now these signals seem to be okay. We have to separate the blocks properly. So there's a signal over here that tells the train to go, all right, is there a thing on the block? Now we need to separate these blocks at a reasonable distance such that they basically, we don't want the train to be waiting for a train to clear this entire area before it goes into it. So we just need to put these at a reasonable distance. And what is that reasonable distance? Let's see. So let's go, do we count the tiles? Maybe we can go by the blueprint. The blueprint ends here, right? So maybe we'll just go by the edges of the blueprint to make more sense. So we put a rail block signal, say here. Oh, you can't put them in the middle of tracks? Oh, they have to snap to the edge of a track where the track ends. Okay. So like here. Definitely here. And then pretty much we need to snap a railroad signal onto the edge of every single bit of track, right? Because we don't want them crashing into each other as they go through here either. So with these rail block signals there, we need rail block signals on the other side on the way out as well. So every bit of track needs its own rail signal. And in theory, that should divide up all the rail into different blocks so that two trains will know not to kill each other when they do stuff. So this block is fine because that's the one that leads onto the actual thing. And this is where the actual common rail starts in our testing scenario. So I think this is enough rail blocks to get these two trains to function without hurting each other. I just need to have another test track over here with another station to say we've got ore over on this side. We can try to pick it up with a second train. And hopefully if these two trains don't hurt each other, then we should be sweet. So I'm going to set up a train station on this side. So we'll even get it to cross weirdly, right? So we'll get this train to go out this way, which I haven't even set up a rail to do that yet. But for example, oh, I haven't done this one even properly. Let's let this train go first. So we'll set up this rail properly now, which involves getting this to go out the minimal amount of distance and then hooking it up like that. There we go. Now, this train needs to be able to go to the other side as well, in case it needs to go that way. Not every train actually even needs to go both ways, but that's fine. Oh no, where's the snapping point for this rail? Here, right? Yup. And then this part needs a rail signal. And now it hates everything. I'm not 100% sure whether this will work, but I think I've divided my train now. It got less confused about... Wait, let me put on my hover pack. It'll be easier to see. Alright. So I think now the way we divide it is at the end of here where it decides to turn left or right, we put a block signal here. And then as soon as it finishes the turn, we put a block signal here. And then we put a block signal on the other side for the return path. And then where it goes here, where this rail meets here, this is where we want to put our block signal. That way the train doesn't get confused. And you can see now this junction is divided into a different color. This junction for this one is divided into a different color. And then if we were to add more rail that way, we would divide it exactly here. I can't do that right now, but in theory that should work. And now that one train is running and we don't have 10 billion signals everywhere and they all seem to be working. So let me do another test train over here to see if this concept works. So for example, say we had another station just over here. Then we can get our rail that goes this way. So this is the rail that's going this way, right? It's going to go over here. Then it's going to do its return at some point, wherever, it doesn't really matter. And then it's going to come back in on the return rail, which is this one, like that. So now we can do our block signal for this train's exit, which is where it meets this rail, which is here. And that will divide that block. And now it can go there, and it can also, this one is not happy. Oh yeah, because we didn't do the return signal on this one. We've got to divide out this part. Oh, stop that. That one goes this way. Wait, did I do it on the right one? That one turns out that way, goes in there, and then comes out this way. Why can't I rotate this train station? What? I think I've done this station the wrong way. May I place it the right way? Then we reset that up again. And hook that up. There we go. Now we can do our return signal this way. We need to divide this section of the rail. And then everything seems to work again. Simple. Well, if everything's lined up properly, it should work. But yes, so this is its own section, right? And in theory, we should be able to now get multiple trains coming around here. So let's set this one up. Can I get rid of this train now? In fact, we'll just add a couple of trains and see if it works. So I'll add a train over here and we'll call this one, we'll go from number 1 to Kiev, which is our new station, and then we'll turn on self-driving, and then this should work Now these trains should interact perfectly fine with all these block signals, and it shouldn't crash in theory. Let's sit here and observe it for a little while. It's going to be very hard to test with 2 trains, but yeah, it's perfectly fine to be able to get onto the main rail, go over here, and then loop back around and get back in. Where's my other train gone? It's over here. I realized I just didn't add the return rail this way, but I've added it in, so all these sections should still work. Let's test this train now to see if it can indeed go back. So it's going to go to Kiev, but then it's going to go to number 1. So we'll save the changes and then turn on self-driving. And now we'll observe to see if it all works. So yes, indeed, it is waiting for this train. We might add another block signal here so it doesn't have to wait too long. Where's the block? There it is. And now both trains should be able to get to and from their destination. It looks a little bit crazy and complicated, but I think it works. How this is going to interact with 10 trains going back and forth, we might have to optimize a little bit later down the road, but for now I think they both seem to be happy and not crashing. So yeah, I think it's all good. What if we change this thing to, instead of going to iron ore pickup, we get it to go to Kiev, and then we get this one to go to iron ore pickup. Come here. That way they kind of intersect each other, like the one from this station is now going to go through this way and this one's going to go through that way, just to test if they can intersect each other. Obviously I will plan my trains in such a way that they don't do that sort of stuff, but I think this is fine. There's also this rail path signal, which I don't really know how to use, that will probably help optimize some of these intersections. I think we can use that at some point, but we'll leave it with these regular blocks for now. Why are you unhappy? Let's just delete both and get this one to go to Kiev first. There we go. And then we'll get that to go to number 2. And I think that should be fine. This one seems to be able to go to the other station if it needs to, so it can go on both sides of the rail. And I think this should work out in theory, but we'll troubleshoot all our problems in practice. So let's move on now and set up the rest of these rails so that all the stations are connected, and then we can, or not set up the rails so the stations are connected, but at least set up the rails so that we know where to build our building that's going to house this entire giant train station. Alright, here it is. This is the outbound tracks all hooked up now. Pretty good effort. All of the rail signals are in and they all appear to be functional. If we pull out our rail signal, we can see each junction is divided into its own color. So I'm really hoping and praying this all works out. Otherwise, if it doesn't, then I've wasted a whole bunch of time. But that's all fine. It seems to be all okay. Although some of these colors don't really make sense. Why is this divided into 2 different colors, but this one is not? I'm just going to assume this is a color issue. But now we got to do the back track. So at the moment we've done the front track and we've divided it all up, but we haven't done the back track for all of these trains. So probably, oh god, I'm gonna have to put in all these stations, aren't I? We'll see. Maybe I'll just put some like placeholder rails and stuff in here, and then we will get this back return track done as well. And there it is, nice and simple. The return rail has been set. So now all 10 train stations are all fully linked and should be operational. It looks pretty insane. And now we got to get a building to house all this somehow. So we got to figure that out. But look at our crazy train station. This is going to be the most insane rail project ever. I didn't think bringing all 10 resources to a central spot, I don't know. It sounded like a good idea in my head. And now that I do it in practice, I don't know about this. I don't know, guys. We'll find out, I guess. So I think if the train's going to come out along here, then I guess our factory is just going to start somewhere along here, right? I think that makes the most sense. Well, I guess it's time to just put some floor around the whole station, and then we can start experimenting with some architecture. So I'm just going to wrap this whole station around with 1 tile of flooring, or 1 blueprint worth of flooring, and then we can start putting some walls and stuff up around it. Alright, now we have a foundation thing around our whole area. We can start building some walls. So if you've watched my series so far, the way I've done walls is just with walls, right? Like a basic wall, something like that. That would be like what I typically do with my walls. But from an architecture perspective, a much better way to do things in Satisfactory is, instead of using walls, especially when you're doing these massive structures, is actually to use foundations. we're going to use, I think the best looking foundation, well, anyway, this is opinionated, but the best looking foundation, I think, is the coated concrete foundation. And if we use these 4-meter foundations, we can actually use them as walls. Let's see how that might look. So for example, if I want my entrance of my train station to be here, we don't need to leave like too much spacing in between stuff. So like around here, right? So this will be like the entrance of the building. Why won't it let me put it on top of you? And then we can decide how high we want this building to go. And there you go. There's our wall now. We might need to make blueprints for this sort of stuff. But for example, we can do like walls like this. And then we can use all the different ramps and things to do very interesting like architecture now, right? We can like slope this. We don't need to have everything like flat and blocky. But we can start with flat and blocky and then we can work our way up from there. And I think this will look really nice for a building. And the cool thing about these walls is, once you have, say, enough walls, and I can zoom it across, we can actually like delete parts of the walls. And then we can put stuff in between so like we can make feature walls like this, and then we can fill the middle with other things. Like say we wanted a glass bit now. We can do, not triple frame, maybe like a honeycomb window. Let's give that a go. Just testing different things. We should be able to put one in the middle like this. And then this will be like a window, but it has like an indent now. And it looks, I think it looks pretty cool, right? This looks like a much more interesting wall than just a flat wall. We have an actual window with like a border and a frame. And there's other like really cool things that you can do architecturally with this sort of stuff that I think will make our station look a lot cooler. Because we're using foundations, we can now use all the different types of foundations, like these weird corners and things, to get some interesting shapes in our building. I have no idea how I'm going to do any of that, but we will figure it out, I guess. These double ramps, probably not stairs, but like we've also got these things that we can work with, these archway corners. Maybe they will look nice, but we'll have a play around with it and see how that might work. Can we like rotate this to make it like 90 degrees? These archway corners will be really good for like archways, but we'll have to figure out how to do them. But we'll figure all that out, and then we'll see what we can do for our train station. I wanted to try a new building technique that I found online. I'm going to use an adapted version of it. But basically, along each of these, like this is going to be a massive wall, right? That's going to be like the front or whatever, the side of our railway station. But I think a good wall feature would be archways. So if we can get archways going across each station, that would be fantastic. Now I'm going to try a few techniques with these archways, and this is how you build an archway apparently. So you start with a little, what's called beam connector down the bottom. Then from there you get a maximum length beam up the top. Then you can start building your archways. So you use these giant concrete pillars. I'm just going to bind this for simplicity. And you just chuck a giant concrete pillar on the top. Then you remove this beam, then you put in another beam, and this time you go into diagonal mode, and then you can tilt it. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and do it there. Now, normally, if you want to build a 40-meter concrete archway, this is how you would do it. You would just use smaller increments. I did 6. You would probably have another beam going there. And then that way you can curve it all the way down, or something weird like that, right? So that's basically the concept. But what I don't want a 40-meter arch, because that's way too tall. Look how tall this thing is. I don't want my train station to be that tall. Instead, I measured out this thing, and it's around 20 meters high. So I think 20 meters is a good length for an archway. Well, that'll be like the top of the archway, right? It'll be pretty much just above the train station. So I'm going to go for a 20-meter archway. This could all, I mean, we'll try it together once, and then I will make all the necessary adjustments accordingly to get it all working. But basically, I'll do this section together, and then I'll just do the rest on my own. But essentially, if we go into diagonal mode again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, what you're meant to do is build your archway out like this at 40 meters, because you can't get the beam turning in a circle basically when you have any other distance. But to get a smaller archway, all you have to do is zoom this down to where you want it. So I'm going to measure it out with a 20-meter beam this time, and we'll do default, and we'll go exactly 20 meters. Then we can just zoom this down like that, And then when you zoom down all of your connection points, you can see this is forming the sort of start of an archway. Whether I can fit an archway into a 6x6 blueprint is another story. I really don't want to have to build all of these architecture features manually. We're never going to build any of these architecture features manually, because you can imagine the scale of my factory. If I have to build one little architecture feature manually, then it's going to take me like 40 hours, and I still have to make a video series. So we're going to limit ourselves to what we can do in the blueprint designer, and then we'll go from there. So I'm going to build this out now, and when it's done, I will come and talk about it. So here's my attempt at an interesting wall, or my first attempt. We're going to get better at this. We're still practicing a lot, but we used that archway effect to get this little curve here. Then we used straight pillars along here and normal pillars along here. And then we just used our 4-meter concrete foundations to wrap the wall around. And this is a wall section that fits into a blueprint designer. So hopefully we can drop a bunch of these along the front here and make our main wall. Let's see how that might look, and we'll edit the blueprint accordingly. Made a little modification to the blueprint. Since it was kind of perfectly 6 tiles but offset in the middle, I just shifted it across a bit and added an extra wall or foundation block here. That way it's perfectly 6 tiles big, and it should be easier to tile against our floor now, hopefully. Let's give it a go. This is the blueprint. Looks absolutely massive when you're looking at it from like a front perspective, but hopefully it fits in nicely with our blueprint. Now oh man, this is the difference between using the concrete foundation and the regular foundation, but our walls should start from this tile here, this line over here, where this rail signal is, and we'll give it like one wall gap here, and we'll just put the wall like here, for example. Now blueprint mode obviously won't work for this, so I'm gonna have to just manually try to line this up. And it should fit perfectly onto a foundation like this. Now the blueprint box outline is obviously a little bit bigger, but let's see what this wall looks like. It could look terrible, it could look good. Either way, we'll just see if it works, basically. Now, does blueprint mode work in any way, shape, or form on this? Oh yeah? Oh yeah? That's looking like a building now, isn't it? Why is it flipped and completely the wrong way? Yes, it tiles nicely and it's pretty easy to build. I like, it's a little bit dark maybe, the metallic finish. I kind of like it. What do you guys think? Does this look okay? And it looks like it's got like a bit of an interesting feature. And this middle bit is actually perfect because we can do something with this later to segregate the stations. Let's just do 3 of them. Like, I don't want to do all of them and then figure out that this is actually horrible. I think it looks pretty nice, even though, oh crap, I'm falling. Even though it has a little bit of clipping here, I think overall, if you just take a look at it at a glance, it kind of looks nice. Maybe there's someone in the comment section will tell me better ways to hide all this weird clipping, but I kind of like this. It looks kind of got a bit of a train station-y vibe. Do we like this window though? Let's replace this window with like a clear glass window and see if that looks better. Because whatever we end up doing for this, it's gonna translate for everything. Like maybe just having regular windows just gives it a much cleaner look. And now that we have 2 walls, we can just sort of compare them, right? What do we reckon? We reckon this looks better or this looks better? I kind of like the grid window better. Alright, we'll stick with the grid window then. Let's just do 3 sections and then we can figure out what we want to do with the rest of the building. Whatever we end up deciding to build with this sort of... Oh, I keep going too far back and I'm going to die. But I think this looks kind of nice, doesn't it? It's got that little indent. What does it look like from the other side? Yeah, I don't mind the inside either. The inside kind of looks nice. Now, how's this going to track with sort of the rest of the building? Obviously, this main rail line here is going to be an entrance. So whatever happens here needs to be sort of like an entranceway, right? So let's just do something for it. We'll just have a little play around with it and see how we go. Now, this tile over here is going to be for belts. So over here, I suppose, maybe we'll give it 2 tiles of space. So over here and here will be like the entranceway. Now, is the height of this good is the other question. Oh, go. Out of concrete again. All right, I'll be back. As I come back to my old base, I realize I've been building stuff for like 3 hours and not researching a single thing. Steel cast plate. Interesting. Steel ingots to make iron plate. Not that useful, I don't think. Dark matter trap. Not really relevant right now. We'll leave it on our hard drive library. Let's start grabbing more hard drives. Also, while we're here, why don't we increase our alien storage ability? Because at the moment, we're not storing many stacks. I don't care about upload speed, because this is only a 25% upload speed for that many Mercer spheres. I'd rather get this. Another stack of stuff. I think that would be more useful. Yeah, alright, we'll do that when we finish scanning the hard drive. Cool. Anyway, back to designing this entranceway. So, we'll sketch it out. We'll do something basic and then we can make it look fancier, I guess. But basically, we're just going to have something like this. And then on this side, we'll do the same thing. So this is going to be another wall. And it's going to be just like a basic wall. We don't need something fancy archways again, because that'll be like the front of the building. And then this will be the side of the building. So let's go design a new side of the building wall. Let's just set up the entranceway first. Something like that. And then probably do something like that. Now we can figure out some way to make this entranceway look fancy at some point. But for now, we'll just leave it like this. I'm sure we can do some beams or something to like accent the entranceway at some point. Probably beams work better, but I don't know how big like beams look against an entire foundation. And don't worry, we're going to do cool stuff with like signs and stuff later, so hopefully that'll look okay. But yeah, it gives it a little bit of like an accent, right, for the trains to come through. Then, ooh, why is this beam not going all the way down? Then obviously we can use some beam connectors to do the sides. I think this series will probably end up being more focused on doing design elements than anything else. But I think that looks alright, breaks it up a little bit. It's like an entrance. We'll do some signage and some cool stuff with like LED signs or something to really accent it in a bit. But first, let's figure out a side wall for this whole majiggy. We go underneath and get rid of some of these trees. But essentially, we're going to just use this same blueprint, right? And we'll just get rid of the archway part. And we'll just replace it with instead something else that's cool in the middle. Make sure I actually delete everything. Oh, my bag's full. Came with a full bag of concrete. Don't need all of it right now, but I'm sure we'll go through it in no time. Essentially, we want these same walls. And then we want to like carve something out of the wall and make it look a little bit more interesting than just a big flat wall. And we need to put in some windows at some point. So if it's 6 tiles long, then where would windows even go is my question. Like every second one? Like that? I think that looks okay. Do we want to do windows? Or do we want to do some sort of like feature wall? The way to do feature walls, I believe, is what we do is we use these things. Double ramp foundation, 8 meter, something like that. I think you try different things, right? Let me put a ramp foundation here. Okay, it doesn't like this. Maybe we got to start with a regular ramp, then double ramp, and then end it with a regular inverted ramp, I think. I have no idea what I'm doing if you haven't noticed yet. That looks kind of cool. Well, we don't even need an inverted ramp. We can just put a wall up here. It's a nice, interesting sort of thing, I guess. We'll have to see how it looks once we tile it all together. And then a cool little trick you can do to make this sort of wall feature highlighted, and I learned, I'm not going to take credit for any of this, I saw this in random videos, is by adding billboards underneath them. So if you put in a billboard like, say, here, well, make sure you line them up properly. This is like super difficult to do. Thank God for blueprints. Just trying some different stuff at the moment, and then we'll see how things look. So we want to configure the blueprint. And then we got to pick a color. So say we use our whatever bright purple color that we're using. Then we want to set the colors to be the same for both. Say this color. And the background should be the same as well. Then it's all just like one color. And if you just make it glossy and like maximum emission. Whoa, that's so bright. That's too bright. This is actually a light. We're going to use this technique to do all the lights. What if we do it matte? Okay, it's still a little bit bright. Let's try it with the background. So we want this one to be that color. So the background is in purple. Then maybe just black. And then if we do the layout to be nothing, we can make the text color bit transparent, I think. I don't think anyone's going to notice this, right? Then we can do the emission strength and make it glossy. And that looks, no, glossy doesn't look good. We want matte. Testing different stuff. I think that looks alright. Now if we do something like this, it's kind of like a little feature wall, right? And then do we want to mimic that on the other side? And what does the billboard look like from the back? Oh no, that's super ugly from the inside. Does that mean we need another set of billboards on the inside as well? That's a little bit annoying. And again, now you guys see why I need to do all of this in a blueprint, because I ain't building this 10 billion times, right? If the design doesn't fit into a blueprint, then I'm not doing it. I think the overall vibe of my factory at the end of the day, I want it to look a little bit sci-fi. Now, what would happen if I put like windows on the other side? Would that look good? Like half of it will be billboards and the other half will be windows. What do we think of that look? Does that look crazy? I think that looks absolutely insane. But you know what? Let's give it a go. I still want to give it that chrome finish that everything else has. I'm not sure if the coated concrete plus the chrome together looks nice. I think it kind of looks nice. It's got that little glossiness to it. But this will be like a nice little decent feature wall, right? It could look good, could look horrible. We'll have to see. And take all my concrete again. Shove one down here. Line it up against this wall and it should fit in nicely. And then theoretically we should be able to blueprint mode the rest of this, and then we'll see how that looks together. Build 4, and then we'll just walk along the side and see. Does it look interesting and fun? Or does it just look kind of dumb? I think it breaks it up a little bit. I mean, it looks decent. It's so big. It's like, it's just massive, that's all. But I like it for now, I guess. We can change this stuff later. Just try different design patterns so that we can understand sort of what stuff is available to us. But it definitely looks more interesting than a solid wall, right? Now we can work on the roof shape, now that we have two walls together. So the roof is, what are we thinking? We're thinking like maybe some, like we've got this like weird center point here, right? We can replace this for it to, not replace it, but we can add on an additional thing for this to kind of stick out a little bit. Now, if we say we use these half foundations, like here, for example, and then from these half foundations, can we do like it sticks out, which I kind of like. But then can we do like a ramp thing to go up? Let's have a look. Let's play with different stuff at this point. Eventually something might look interesting or nice if we do enough creative things, I guess, is my working philosophy right now. Nope, we need a ramp. There's no way to join this half ramp to this thing properly, is there? Because I don't kind of want my ramp to directly start here. Up ramp corner. Does that look nice from below? No, that just looks weird. We're gonna have to have just like our ramp offset by half a tile then. That might look a bit, that might be weird to join back up on the other side, but we'll have to figure that out at some point. But for example, if we chuck out a ramp here, it's not even lined up to the half. Then we have an interesting sort of accent within the wall itself, like the geometry. And then we can do our double ramps from here. And then we can have our ceiling be slightly more interesting than just a flat thing, right? So if we do foundations from here and go out above the train station, this should be kind of in between two stations, kind of. It won't be exactly, because obviously the train stations don't line up that perfectly, but it should kind of work. Now this is going to get to the end of the station. I don't know where that is, but something like that. Let's just do 2 to see if it looks nice. Don't worry, we're going to all paint this the same color one day. See, this is the bit I don't really like, this bit over here. I don't know if we can hide this somehow, but we'll find out. We'll figure it out. It's all good. So like that, and then we'll get one of these going here. So this is going up 3, I think. Did I do 3 or 2? No, that's too much. Just did 2. So yeah, now we've got like 2 sections of this thing. It looks pretty okay to me. Now, how are we going to connect this and this properly? Is the question. So I guess this maybe needs one as well, maybe? Don't know. do one here and find out. Now you're watching me do this, right? I bet you guys have seen like really cool Satisfactory factories, videos, tours and stuff. And now you can really appreciate how much work those guys have gone to make their factory look that cool. So if that's the case, then we need to fill this in, or do we need to fill it in? That's the question. Can we leave it open? Maybe that looks good. It's unfortunate I'm not a very creative designer, so my factory is definitely not going to look that good, but I'm going to do my best. Now, maybe there's something in the roof tile section that can help us out. So I know in the architecture, we have flat roofs, 1 meter and 4 meter roofs. So maybe if we slide some roofs in between here and here, can we go down a bit? I think the roofs are the only thing that slant 45 degrees. So we're almost forced to use roofs to pave this thing because we can't, I mean, we can use ramps. These might look cool. Could just be like a completely open frame thing out this way. If only there was like a half ramp that we could connect this to. Just this part needs to be sealed off a little bit. See how we can do that. We'll try a few different things. So we want the 4 meter roof, but we need it like offset at the right area. So we need it to start here, which means, yeah, I knew these half foundations would cause a headache for me, but maybe we can create some sort of snapping point. Do we like that? If we get rid of this, then what does that look like from under here? Looks kind of weird. I'm guessing windows and stuff don't align themselves to the angle of the ramp, do they? You can't vertically rotate this. What else turns at 45 degrees? It's literally just the roofs. But this is kind of an issue, I guess. But what can we do about this roof? I'm not too sure. Because what I can do along the top is I can do roofs or foundations. But I was thinking the glass foundation. Glass frame foundation. And if we do like a glass roof, I think it'll look kind of cool. So you can either snap it to the top or the bottom. I think the bottom is where we want to snap it. Oh, we can use vertical thingy to change it if we want it in the middle. So we can do something like this. That way it's not on the top or the bottom. And I think that looks better. A glass roof. What do we think of a glass roof? Does that look crazy? Does that look too crazy? It looks sick from below. It's like a little greenhouse. I really like the look of this from the inside. But how do we connect this section together? The only way I can think of is by using these these ramps. Not inverted ramps, but just like regular ramps. There's no double ramp frame. I have to like connect the bottom part myself. It just doesn't look nice. It just looks like it's open, out in the open. Like if it rains, the tracks will get wet, but then they're tracks, so it's fine. But the roofs, they just don't look nice. Like, I don't know. I don't like the roofs. Like, if we could snap the roof to the bottom end of this, maybe? Can we snap the roof to the bottom end of this? Why does it have to be along the top? Why can't I snap it to the bottom? Like, if I did that, and then I did that, then can my roof be, like, here? That actually looks okay. I actually don't mind that. Like, if we give it a nice finish, I guess. I mean, that's already very similar to the finish that we're using. How do people do roofs? I don't understand. Like, how do they do these cool slants on their buildings? But I think that looks nice. I think we'll go with something like this. What do we think? Do we like these frames or do we like these roofs? How does the roofs tile into this thing? Especially since I've done this like one higher than normal. And then this side we'll figure out how to fill in. We'll probably just fill it with something. Well, this is our first building, so I think I'm just going to go with these frames and see how that building looks, or how it all looks at the end. And then we'll go from there. Maybe once we add the lights in underneath, it'll look better, who knows. But I'll fill in this front bit and then we'll start working on the back wall. I've tiled out my arch walls all the way to the end now. So now we're going to have to do the roof bit. I'll probably set up some temporary blueprints to get this done. We just modified the thing that we made earlier to have the extra framing around it with some of the start of the glass frame foundation. 2, 3, 4, 5. Why am I missing a 6th bit of this? Is this tileable? Is it 5 or 6? Oh, interesting. Anyway, let's try this out. I'm not going to save it over my original blueprint, but we'll see if it works. Alright, save the blueprint. Let's give it a go. We'll see if it tiles in nicely over here. And we'll just compare it to what we've done here. So I take out this entire wall and some of the work that we did here. Let's see if we can drop that as a whole blueprint now. I mean, we can, it's just it doesn't align with in blueprint mode. There's like no snapping point whatsoever. What the heck is going on? It should align with my old blueprint perfectly like this. And then it kind of comes out. Let's put this down and see if it actually works, because that'll make my building a lot easier. The most important test is, does the foundation part here line up? It does. Perfect. Alright, cool. This blueprint works then. It's exactly the same as that, except, yeah, it's in a blueprint form. So I should be able to align this and use that instead. Alright, I'm going to do that for all of these and get the roof all set up. And when that's done, I'll come and talk about it. Alright, I think I finished the front wall. I'm calling this the front of our station. But yeah, we finished the front wall of the station and we've done the same sort of entrance for our train here. So now we're going to put in our feature wall on the side. Now, the game doesn't have any flip or anything, so it's going to be opposite, I suppose, to the other feature wall. And then we're ready to do the back soon. So make sure this tiles all correctly. There we go. Now we've got everything done except for the back. And once we get the back done, then we're sweet. Now the back is going to be, I guess, similar to the front, but we're probably not going to do arch windows, I think. We'll probably just do like, I don't know. We'll do some different design for the back wall. It'll all be different designs and it doesn't really gel well together, I suppose, at the moment. But we'll figure it all out. This is our practice factory to just test different design styles. And then we'll see how it all looks in the end. We can always replace all these pretty easily as long as we stick to our 6x6 foundations. It shouldn't be an issue. I think the next thing that I want to test is how, like, at the end of the day, if you look at this factory that we've made so far, it's still technically just a box, right? And in the future, we don't want to build all our factories to be boxes. We kind of want to give them interesting shapes. And one of the things that we need to learn to do that is how do we do a corner using foundations? Like, if we want to go from here to here without going through a box, how can we do that? Let me figure out how to do the turn, and then we'll come back and we'll blueprint a corner that's not a 90-degree corner. Like, how do I slant the foundation this way properly so that, well, one, it doesn't flicker and clip and stuff, and then get it actually doing a 90-degree corner turn. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I figured all this out by myself. I basically just followed a tutorial on YouTube on how to do it. But essentially, you just have your normal square 90-degree wall, and then you use these road barriers, and you replace one of the road barriers with a wall. That way you have a snapping point for a foundation that lines up perfectly with your normal line foundations, right? And then you can sort of tile them across. They do overlap a bit in the middle. However, you can't really see them, right? And then you just get rid of these helper aspects. And there you go. You have a diagonal wall that you can use as a corner instead of your regular walls. Now I'm going to do this, and then we're going to put it over here and see how that looks. So we need to extend all this up. And how many tiles is it up? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tiles high. I don't know how I arrived on this 7 tile figure. I think it's just dependent on my archways, but it's 7 tiles high. So I'm going to extend that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And yes, I know all these walls and stuff are all sort of different styles, but like I said, this is just our first building. We're just testing all the different building techniques, and then eventually we'll settle on something that we like. Yeah, I think that looks okay. So there's our corner, and it's nice and no longer a square block corner. We can carve out some stuff to make this wall slightly more interesting, like putting a window in here. Let's figure out how we might do something like that. We can just do like a massive window in here. And we probably want to use the same window style as the other side of the walls. We just won't do the archways on this side. So it was a panel window, I believe. And I think we can just put it in the middle. They have a really complex way of doing windows. I don't know why, but... well, I do know why, because it doesn't line up perfectly on anything anymore. But we should be able to do something like this, and then it's at least symmetrical. And then we will have to do something weird on this side. Like, it's not going to be perfect. We just got to make sure it doesn't like clip strangely into some weird part of the wall. Then it's kind of fine. Can I make it more symmetrical? Can we like shift it to be in the exact center? Kind of. We can. So we do this, then we can kind of make it better looking, I think. They both equally go into their walls respectively. Yeah, I think that looks okay. I think that looks okay. Let's try it out, and then we'll get a nice tiling going on with this thing. We've got to give it the same color, otherwise everything's going to be different colored, and that's going to look terrible. So we'll paint it all chrome. Oh dear. It doesn't like the chrome finish. Well, it's not that it doesn't like the chrome finish. It's I can't get to the inside thing. Can I do it from the other side? Ah, there we go. Lucky. Well, if you can't paint it from one side, you should be able to paint it from the other, right? And now there's no more Z fighting. I think the hardest part about all these custom designs is to design it so they do clip into each other, but they clip in without any weird Z fighting. But that should be the wall, and that should align perfectly with this wall. So let's test out the blueprint. I'm going to save this. Now I might need to move this blueprint designer because it's a little bit in the way now. So let me just clear this all out of the way, and then we'll start doing the corner. Oh no, the industrial storage container is in the way. Let me just put this inside the building for now. I've got all my concrete and steel, because we need a lot of concrete and steel for this construction project. The area is cleared out now, so I'm going to try to build this thing. Diagonal corner. I mean, we're going to have to line it up somehow with something. It's going to be this orientation, and obviously blueprint mode's not going to snap to anything, so we're just going to have to manually line it up to this corner. Oh, nope. Sometimes I just feel like this game was never built to be designed at this scale, because it's just so hard to do anything. Like, I can't see the edge of where this is going. I can't even get it within the nudge distance properly. But here's the two walls lined up, and it works perfectly. I mean, the only thing is it's probably too far out. So I might need to delete bits of this wall and then just do that part manually. So like this wall, yeah, probably needs to just be less, I guess. Yeah, we'll have to manually put that in, and then let me just get a bunch of tiles to line this up with. So probably where this track turns is where I want to start the turn. So about here. So half. 3 works out well for me. Mathematically, I guess. Makes sense. Let's chuck the wall here then. And then we'll just manually do this part of the wall. Make sure that is lined up. Fantastic. And then we'll do one similar on the other side. And then we'll figure out what we do with the back wall. So I forget the scale that I'm building at now. And it takes forever just to walk from one side of this train station to the other. But we'll get rid of that. 3 foundations for wall, and then we'll put in our diagonal corner. Now, is the diagonal... it should work exactly the same as before, right? This diagonal corner is flip agnostic, I should say. Like, it should work for any corner. There we go. There's the diagonal corner in. Now we need to do something with this section of the wall. So, I guess I'll just manually build it. I mean, it doesn't seem too difficult. Probably just want to do something like this, and then we'll just do like a normal window, I guess. Yeah, I'm gonna put a normal window in here, I think. Overthinking this now. I'm still calling all of this sort of like a testing setup, so we're not gonna go too crazy with anything. We'll change the window style to this, make it all the same. I'm trying to toss up between getting the factory to, one, look nice. I might have to change all these windows to this style window. I'm not really sure about this feature wall. It's a little bit not matching the rest of it, but that's fine. Now, the thing is, we do have to get to these walls into bits of 6, right? The reason for that is because eventually this archway is going to come across down here, and then it's going to wrap down. So I might actually just do a placeholder one out this way, so I know where the units of 6 walls needs to begin. This is like architecture. We need to make the bridge meet in the middle somehow. So see how it comes out here, right? At some point this needs to then, well, we don't need to get it to slant down. It can just directly come down like this. I don't mind that. Like, it curves up in the front. It doesn't need to curve down around the back. It can just directly come down. But if it directly comes down, we need to make sure that we build our wall sections like correctly to align with this thing. So how does this align with this thing? We need one more tile, and then we can build a wall here. So our blueprint can just start from here in theory. I'm going to leave this weird colored so I can build a new wall that's basically 6 tall or whatever it is, and then we can go from there. We can make our corners look a little bit more interesting. Instead of just a pure square, we can always do something like this. If we put a inverted ramp, like say here, I mean, really, this is what I should have done for my archway. That looks pretty much like an archway. Nah, it actually doesn't look as nice as the archway I made before. We can do something like this, right? And then that gives it a little bit more of a distinguished look. Breaks up the blockiness. There we go. There's the corner. Now, we need to start the wall over here. So we need to make a 7 by 6 sort of wall with some sort of features or whatever to do the back walls, right? And we're going to quickly do that in a blueprint designer somewhere. When that's done, I'll come back and talk about it. Now, to keep things simple, this is what I'm going to start with. It's just a wall with a window, and then this is the bit that should theoretically meet up with our other bits. So, sorry, that was my dog barking if you can hear it. But yeah, this will be like the back wall for the train station. I'm going to save this as a temporary blueprint. I have no idea what to do with these naming conventions and icons. Like, once I've set up a bunch, I might end up doing something with them. Like, I'll go through the blueprints and then I'll sort them and arrange them. But for now, I don't know. I really don't. But we'll just chuck them in here for now. This is another different type of wall, I guess. This is an arch wall. This is just a regular wall. Maybe we'll call it something like that at some point. So we'll save that blueprint and then we'll go test it out. Now, this part is the bit that I built. I'm just going to color this manually black or chrome. And then in theory, that blueprint we just made, we should be able to chuck down. And it's going to be, again, a pain in the butt to line up. But we'll put it on default mode. And then we'll try to line it up as best as we can. We'll use the top bit, I guess, is probably easier. Something like that. And if we've done our blueprinting correctly, hopefully this and this joins up. Ah, I see. We don't want this top bit. We want it to do that. So we need to get rid of this top bit. Got to get rid of that. And then we'll do it from here. I think that should fix it. So we'll save that blueprint again. Now we've got our back wall. We've got to figure out how all this plays together now. Especially this part. This is going to be very interesting for me to try to do. Let's try to figure that out. Let's get this thing going all the way out over. Because once we get the corner down, the middle part is all going to be easy, right? It's all going to be the same. It's just this corner bit that's a little bit special. So we'll try to line it up as best we can. And we know it's not going to perfectly line up to this. Now, do we need to make a wall corner along here to diagonally meet this up with this bit is the question. Or is there some special thing we can do to seal this part? I feel like it needs a corner to match it, right? Like, there's no two ways about that. So we can bring that up and we can use a half foundation here to meet that part up. And that should be a very similar turn to this. And now if we get rid of this, we should be able to get it to go across here somewhere. We can just use the bits below it to line it up properly. And if we get rid of this, now our top corner follows this. Now, what we put in between here is going to be interesting as well. Because, or maybe we can just do that. And does that look weird from the inside though? Because we do see this building from, oh no, it looks perfect. That actually works out really nicely. I really like this framing thing that's happening. And then that kind of joins up with this, right? Somehow that joins up perfectly. Okay, fantastic. Then we can just fill this in with something. I don't know what yet. Or we can fill it in with nothing. It can just be empty space. And that also looks nice. Then in the middle here is all gonna just be 5x5 glass all the way up to here. And then I suppose what can go in here? More glass? That would look weird. We'll have to figure out the corner in a bit, but that's perfectly fine, I think. Yeah, this looks fantastic. This is actually exactly what I want. Well, first attempt, guys. First attempt, forgive me. I don't know. You guys tell me in the comment section, does this look nice or am I just a terrible, uncreative designer and this just looks horrible? But I'm going to go with this design because, one, I've spent the better part of the last 6 hours screwing around with this and I kind of want to keep going with the rest of my factory. And two, this is probably the best one can hope an engineer such as myself is creatively able to come up with. I'm just going to put down another one and I just want to test this beam does indeed meet up properly, because otherwise if the beams don't meet up then this entire design is screwed. I don't know why I've decided to build the biggest train station in the world. Like, kind of now that I'm putting it together, I don't know, like there's a certain aspect of it that's like, yeah, it's awesome, it's massive, and yes, the beams meet up, so I'm totally happy with that. Yeah, it's like, it's awesome, but at the same time, this is why I understand now why people want to do satellite factories instead of one massive factory with every single resource. Imagine if I missed a resource and I have to extend all this. Actually, extending all this isn't going to be a pain if I need to add another station on the side. But if I do need to extend it, you know what? We'll just make a little mini train station somewhere. I'm not doing any sort of planning for this whole build. And the reason why I'm not doing planning is because I want this factory to develop sort of organically. And whatever happens, happens. And hopefully we end up with a nice looking factory, but if we end up with some terrible, horrendous mess, then so be it. But yeah, I think it'll be fine because the way I've played the game so far, when we've built our original factory to finish the game, I'm actually really happy with how it all turned out. I mean, we never finished it because we didn't seal up like the back of the factory and things like that. But honestly, it's perfectly fine. Like, I really like the organic way it developed itself, like just by adding new sections as we need it and then just figuring out where the best place to build those sections were, and it kind of just built itself out organically with no planning whatsoever, right? And I kind of like the idea of that, and I'm going to get this factory to follow a very similar concept. So here it is. Now we've gotten to the end. I think we need to build this part manually because it's part of the corner wall. There's no way we can get that done, but all of this other stuff should link up perfectly fine. I might even need to delete some of this stuff because maybe there's like duplicate foundations in here somewhere. Yeah, there you go. Not that duplicate foundations really matter that much, but yeah, that's it. Our thing is all sealed up now, which is fantastic. So we'll just do a regular wall over here. I'm not sure how, we'll have to have a look at that side of the factory, but this is kind of fine. We can always manually shove in a window somewhere here. Let's manually shove in this thing first. I'm trying to figure out where that comes out. We'll do it from this side actually. There we go. Now we'll just paint this wall. Fantastic. Now we've got to do the same thing over on this side. You probably should fill in this wall too. We'll just do the same thing we did on the other side by adding a little window. Stop that. I've forgotten what I actually did here. Did I put a thing in the middle? Why is this side looking very different to this side? That's the turned archway. No, I just did a big window here. And then to make this and this semi-line up-ish, we did an inverted ramp, didn't we? Just like that. There we go. We've got a bunch of different styles of windows everywhere. Do we need like a little window here? Is my question. We probably do because it's just like flat wall here. Space by 3. 1, 2, 3. No, not really. We'll just leave it. It's fine. Cool. So it's pretty much done. We've got all 4 walls of our factory. We just need to link up the roof. And then we've got to decide whether we want to pave it all in or just leave it open. I don't even mind it just being completely open, to be honest. But yeah, I'm going to fill in all of the beams over here now. There it is. All the roof beams are in. Now we just need to fill the roof up with glass. And this is the most iffy step, I'm not sure whether I like it or not, but you know, screw it. We'll just do it. Make it look like a full complete building. Alright, took a while, but it's done. The entire top part is filled in. I didn't really know what to do with the back part on how to link the roof back to the wall. So I just did some random stuff, but I think overall it looks okay. We've tried a whole bunch of different techniques for all 4 different walls, so I guess the whole factory looks a little bit inconsistent. But I'm going to leave this part open for now. It's just like part of an open roof platform sort of thing. I think it looks kind of cool for a train station. And we can like run along here. But yeah, we've got all the trains now. We've got 10 stations. Each station has 8 freight platforms. Remember, even if we missed out a material, we don't have to dedicate one entire train station just for one particular material. We can always mix and match and stuff. So I'm pretty sure that these 80 freight platforms should suffice us for our big factory. Oh crap, I just realized I forgot to fill in this section. All right, let me just do that real quick. This one's a little bit special because it has 6 tiles of glass for some reason. Well, I know why, because there's an extra line here, but let me just fill that in real quick. Let's do that. And then we should be able to blueprint the rest. Everything I'm doing right now is still very highly experimental, so there's not much consistency across my factory, if you will. But yeah, we're figuring it out. I want to experiment with a whole bunch of different design patterns to see which ones I end up liking. There's no power in certain areas of my factory. Like over on the other side, I thought it'd look nicer if I pulled the foundation out this way to give it a little bit of an accent, I guess. And yeah, I think I kind of like that. And then I thought I could just get rid of this part, which kind of gives it an interesting, what's it called? Geometry? An interesting geometry? Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. Interesting geometry. All right, how do I get back up now? Need my jetpack. Ugh, I could see the glass clipping through the thing. Annoying. But yeah, I need to get one more row of glass going this way, and then we're pretty much done. Well, we're done with the outside of the factory. This is our train station. I think it looks kind of nice. It's got well, slightly more interesting geometry than a square box, and it's got some interesting feature walls and stuff like that. And yeah, we've tried a bunch of different stuff. We can decide what we like and what we don't like. Here's what it looks like from the inside. It's nighttime now, so we'll probably put some lights and stuff everywhere. I'm thinking we can just use these beams to do ceiling lights, right? That makes the most sense. And then maybe it'll look nice. And then we can do some stuff with like catwalks and things, because what I was thinking was, since this part, well, let's go to a completed train station. Well, if you look at a completed train station, this part is actually a catwalk. So can we not like join this up with like some common catwalk? When the trains come in, we can be like on top of them or something. I don't know. We'll have to experiment with the interior now. We can probably fill in some of these train stations as well. Also, my train station as a bonus is radioactive. Just putting it out there. I don't know what is below me that's radioactive, whether it's like permanently radioactive or just there's like some uranium I can just pick up and get it out of the way. But we can chuck in our freight stations now for our last few freight stations. Or train stations, I should say. We can just connect that back up. We can do this one. But we're getting there. I like this design. It looks kind of cool. I was a little bit iffy at some point, like, oh man, is this like too big? But you know what? What's the harm in building too big? If we don't use all the freight platforms for our factory, then we don't use it. I think what will end up happening the more we develop is we will end up using all the freight platforms, and then we're going to end up needing more train stations. And we might even have to build like a second train station at some point. But that's fine. We'll cross all those bridges when they come. And I keep forgetting as I'm building to research my MAM, because I still have 55 hard drives to research. Oh, we've got a new crystal oscillator recipe. Fantastic. One that uses rubber as well. Oh, amazing. Is it better? Does it manufacture more than one? Yes, it does. We needed this so much during our playthrough. If you haven't watched my original Let's Play, out of all the manufacturers we built, we had like one manufacturer for every single product. Then for the crystal oscillators, we had 15 manufacturers. It was so annoying. But I'm definitely taking that. Thank you very much for that. When I'm on the ground, this station looks absolutely massive compared to when I'm in the air. But yeah, the design for this station is done. Let's see what it looks like from what I believe will one day be the front of my factory, which is this. So yeah, hopefully we can get this. Yeah, I think it looks nice. I think it looks nice. I don't know about you guys, but I think it looks nice. We don't just have one massive, flat, boring looking wall. We have these cool looking archway looking things. Arched windows, if you will. And yeah, we can kind of see through to the train station. I mean, I might ultimately end up just changing these to normal windows so I can actually see the trains. But I think it looks like a decent train station. I don't know about you guys. But we need to decorate the inside. And I'm also not really sure about the format for this series. Like, it's so much work to do this. I think this is like 6-7 hours worth of work, and in my let's plays I used to just do about 1 to 2 hours of gameplay, and then when I cut out all the ums and ahs from my commentating, it can usually be edited down to like a 1 hour video. But if I want to go through the full detailed design process of how I came up with this and then building all of this, we're talking like 6 to 7 hours per video now. And if we're going to do that, I kind of want to encapsulate the content of a video in one thing. So like, for example, I don't want 7 episodes of me building this train station just because it took 7 hours. I want it all to be one video. But we want to break it up like logically, right? The train station is not technically complete yet. One, I want to do something with the interior, like maybe add some lights, some catwalks. We want to paint some of these floors to make it look less boring and decorate the interior to make it look nice, right? But that could take another 2 to 3 hours. So maybe that should be part of episode 2. But I'll split it the way I split it, however it ends up coming out in the YouTube video. But you guys can tell me in the comments section whether you've liked the way I split it or whether I should just do less episode frequency, like we can just do 1 episode every 2 to 3 days, and within the episode I can cut down like 20 hours of footage and have a fully completed train station done in 1 episode. We're still not fully done. We obviously have a lot of little bits and bobs to do, like coloring this stuff in, because this is meant to be normal paint. I like the roof being a slightly different color, so it kind of distinguishes itself. Then I don't know what to do with this. I kind of want it to like pop out a little bit as well, like this edge. Oh, right, because this thing is like both part of the thing and part of this. So this needs to... Does that mean this and this is not aligned? Well, I'm so confused. No, this is aligned. This is part of the popping out bit. Okay, cool. So really we should put a half foundation here and get this part to pop out. Like that. And then there's like a full sort of pillar on the corner. And then how do you join a half foundation and this? I don't think you can. I don't think there's a thing that does that. But yeah, I think this looks okay. There's no way we can... the only other thing is like maybe we can put ones here, like going up as well, halfway, like at a halfway point to like wrap the whole building. But I think it looks fine as it is. It looks like a very interesting looking building. It's not square. That's... the main goal of this is to make the whole thing not square. The only other thing is that I'm thinking of is for this entrance, maybe we do and get that linked for the entrance, just for the entrance. And that looks kind of okay. Now there's no way I can get this diagonal in because there's no... Oh, I can. Okay, let me see if I can do this. We can just shift it in and get it to clip. There we go. And because these things for some reason don't do any weird clipping, we can just get this to pop out a little bit now. Nice. Like that. Now it pops out. Now it gives it a little bit of a pop. Yeah, cool. Gives it a bit of interesting depth, I guess. And this is like the entrance, right? I like it. I think I like it. I don't know about you guys. Do we need this wall is the question. What if we get rid of this entirely? And then give it a big entryway. Oh, that looks even better, I think. See what I mean? I can just sit here and play with this for hours now. Like, this is what I'm really... like, I find really fun about the game. Well, I mean, I really enjoy progressing through the whole game as a whole. But this is what I really like as well. Because this is just fun. Like, I could just sit here for hours and just design this factory. There's never going to be an end to this. This is going to be such a long series, but I like this. I think it looks kind of cool. We can add maybe some foundation here, like that, and then that looks nice, I think. Gives it a bit of interesting depth and breaks up the color a little bit. And then I don't know what we're going to do with the interior. Interior will definitely be next episode, because otherwise I'm going to be sitting here doing this forever. But this is kind of a cool entryway. It looks a little bit broken up and different from the other thing, or the rest of the wall. And it is meant to denote the main entryway of our station, so we definitely need to do something about that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I like this look for the train station. I think it looks very train station-y, especially once we do the interior. The outside wall I'm very happy with. It looks nice from both sides, the inside and the outside. Not really sure about this feature wall with the glowy purpleness. That looks a little bit out of place. But hey, maybe once we add lights to everything, it'll look even better. Maybe we should do that before the end of this episode. Let's do one wall section with lights and see how that looks. Because I want to give this whole thing a futuristic vibe, and I'm not really sure how to do that. What do we think of just like one emissive band of lights? I don't know. It looks neither here nor there. I mean, it kind of looks cool. Does it really tie anything together? Just having like one emissive band over here. It kind of ties together the side weird pattern light thing and this thing, and it kind of gives it a nice look. Like, what if we had an emissive band also along the top? The good thing is it doesn't matter if my signs are upside down for this. Designers, help me out here. All of you that are like graphics designers or UX, UI designers and stuff, yeah, all your suggestions in the comments, please. I want my factory to have this futuristic vibe to it. I mean, that looks cool. It does look cool. Alright, I'm gonna have to make a blueprint to do this, because otherwise it's gonna take me forever. So I need a vertical sign and a horizontal sign blueprint to get a band of light. Alright, let's see what we can do in our blueprint designer, and I'll be back. I made the blueprints, but they're super annoying to place, especially since they don't kind of touch. I can't get the horizontal one like closer to the thing. Let me try again. See how like whenever I place it, it just goes there. Oh, maybe I can get it there. Is that better? It's like slightly less sticking out. It hates me. Yeah, this one just wants to go there, which is like really sticky out. Where did I aim the thing? Like against here? Nope. They're really, really annoying to place, these light bands, but they look kind of cool. I guess if it's just consistently placed everywhere, it's kind of fine. I think I'm just going to decorate the front. I call this the front because I plan to do my factory going that way. But there is really no front or back to this factory. Actually, I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, these light bands, I think they look kind of cool. They're definitely, I don't know if they're worth the effort though. We'll just do one along here and then we'll decide. You can use control to snap. Kind of helps. There we go. Now we just need to do the vertical bands. They definitely add something. We want it to be yellow and on the center somewhere. Alright, let me go figure out where it is on the first one and we'll do it. We'll match the way it looks, otherwise everything's gonna look weird and inconsistent. Especially the way it sort of reflects off the glossy pillars and stuff. I think it looks kind of cool. The glossy pillars definitely make everything look a little bit more sort of sci-fi futuristic, which is the look that I want to go for. See, this one is perfectly centered between two, isn't it? Kind of. It's more towards the left edge. Alright. That's like inside the wall. Is this one inside the wall? Or is it slightly offset? Yeah, it's inside the wall. Alright, inside the wall looks fine to me. It won't let me do that along the top, but that's fine. Alright, there it is with the lights in. I think it makes it look slightly more interesting and gives it a little bit of emissive, you know, lightness, I guess. And yeah, it's looking good. I think our factory is coming along. We're going to leave it there for now. Then we're going to do the interior next episode. I think we've done plenty this episode. Oh man, I can't even get to a good spot to show the whole factory because it's just so damn big. But you guys get the idea. It's a train station. It's massive. We're going to build stuff around it next episode. We're going to hook up the train station and then we'll start making it function and start building our smelting areas to make all the different materials that we need. But I think it looks kind of cool. We're good for now. So we'll leave it here this episode. We'll start decorating the interior next episode. If you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and a sub, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching.